Hello, everyone. Welcome to a video portion of the break room. It's Lloyd Walton. I'm Mitch Robinson. Unfortunately, this is the episode where we remember the life of Norm Van Lier and Johnny Red Kerr, two greats for the Bulls organization, two great men outside the court, two legends in basketball. And shocking news for both. Johnny had been suffering from cancer, and that's, in fact, one of the reasons why the Bulls moved up his ceremony, because they were worried about his health. Norm totally took people by surprise at 61 to be found passed away in his apartment.
Shocked, disbelief. You know, a very, very unfortunate, 61 years young, a great guy. You know, great memories of Norm.
Yeah, you played with Norm his last year in the league, Milwaukee Bucks. So you're a young pup. There's this guy who still going to the beat of his own drummer. What was it like, the first experiences with Norm?
Well, let me say this. I always emulated Norm. I was in high school watching the Bulls and then to college, and then, lo and behold, I make it to the NBA. My first year, and they said, hey, we need some better play from the backcourt. Well, we got to get a guard. The Bulls released Norm, and who comes walking through the door but Norm Van Lier. And I'm going to tell you, I was a little ambivalent because I'm saying, wait a minute, you're going to take my minutes. But Norm was just gracious. He said, look, I came here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I'm going to help you understand this game and help the Bucks win some games. And that's what he did. He embraced the opportunity. He didn't play a whole lot, but when he played, he was able to show young guys what the game was about.
Now, on the court, the story is legendary about Norm and Jerry Sloan, two of the toughest SOBs, they would say,
Absolutely.
in the game of basketball. You didn't drive down the lane on those two guys. What was it on the court that helped that helped your game that he showed you?
Well, Norm showed you so many little things that people don't see that are just general fans, about how to guard guys, how to cut off angles, okay, what the referees are looking for, how to get away with a little bump here and there, because he was a very physical player. And I'll tell you, JoJo White from Boston, Jerry West from Los Angeles, none of those guys wanted to come to town and face Jerry Sloan and Norm Van Lier.
You talk about Norm now as a character. We all know the basketball player, but a character. I mean, I knew him after his playing days. I knew him from working with him on the set, and I knew him socially. And the guy would light up a room, have people smiling, treat everyone like they were important. But man, I would never pull a punch, and always you left knowing that this was a memory you were going to keep forever.
What you see is what you got from Norm. He didn't put on airs, he didn't put on rose-colored glasses. If you asked him a question, you better be prepared for the answer, because he's going to tell it just the way he feels it. And he did that throughout at least me knowing him, and throughout his playing career. And, that somewhat kind of hurt him from getting a lot of opportunities when his basketball career was over.
Let's talk about some of the funny stories that you have. You have some greats. Bring us back to the days in Milwaukee and Norm.
Well, Norm loved music. He loved music, man. He loved rock and roll, man. He loved the Rolling Stones. He used to have back then that little boom box, you put your little disc in and you walk around with it. Norm, you would have thought was off a movie set, okay? He walked around with that little boom box. He'd get on the plane with it. Everywhere you go, he'd have his music playing. So, he was that kind of character. He was a free-flowing kind of guy, a love child, if you will, from the 70s. Just a great guy. And I remember Norm came to me after practice when they said, we got to get to Chicago, man. I got to do something. And you're from Chicago. Go visit your mom. So I said, okay, Norm, we got to be back for practice tomorrow. We jump in my little car. We're driving. He said, man, we got to go faster. Police pulls us over. I'm like, oh, God, state police, I'm going to get a ticket. Norm steps out of the car. He said, oh, Norm Van Lier. I didn't know it was you. Lets us off the hook. Come in Chicago, do our little business. The next morning, Norm has to make 10 stops minimum before we get back to Milwaukee. As soon as we walk in the door, Nellie says, you guys are fined $150. Norm looked at me and says, young fella, you're on your own.
So he saved you from one, you paid the other.
Right.
Nice. Also, a legendary Norm's defense, and you tell the story of Norm. Like you said, physical player. One night, the calls were not going his way.
Not going his way. He got a chance to start. Quinn Buckner was a starter, so Norm got a chance to start. In fact, we were playing the Chicago Bulls. In the first 2 minutes, Norm is guarding whoever they had playing, and he gets called for 2 fouls. Norm tells Nelly, waves him off, yeah, don't take me out, I got it. Puts both his hands behind his back, and he guarded their guard, bring the ball down the court with his hands behind his back for the rest of that quarter. Unbelievable defensive effort and showcase of what you can do by hustle.
Yeah, Norm, for me, the stories I wrote about, comp daddy, as we call them.
Comp daddy.
Norm, you get on the set, and Norm would pick out the cell phone, and then he'd make a phone call. Vongs, yeah, I want some Thai food, and then he'd put it down there, he'd pick it up. Carson's, I need some ribs, and he'd call up 3 or 4 places. And he'd go get food from all of them, feed the entire crew, all in the car that he had for free from some car dealership because he worked out a deal for that, and didn't pay for a thing. And then the last 10 minutes of every show, Norm spent getting his plugs in. Norm, where'd we eat tonight? I got to thank Thong's Thai Kitchen. I got to thank Shaw's. I got to thank. It was incredible, but he fed everyone, and I know everyone appreciated it. It was all a good laugh. He was one of a kind. And then, in like true fashion, everyone who knows Norm and always wanted to fight for respect and all, unfortunately, the ironic, funny thing around, if you can look at it this way, was later in the night we found out Johnny Red Kerr passed away. And you know Norm's up there going, 15 more minutes and I could have had my own day. You had to take my day too, right?
Well, that's the irony in it. You know, Norm was the kind of guy, and you knew him well, he was the kind of guy who always felt he didn't get his just due. And unfortunately, during his passing, I'm thinking, okay, you know, everybody's going to pay their tributes to Norm and, you know, say how much a wonderful guy he was. And then I wake up this morning and John Ray Kerr has passed away. And I know him as saying, I can't even die in peace. I can't even get the headline for dying. He was that kind of guy, and he would have that kind of humor about it.
He would. And Johnny Ray Kerr, I knew him as a broadcaster as well, a gentleman. Another guy, would talk to every fan, would sign autographs up until the last days he worked. What was your experiences with Johnny?
I'll tell you, I was out of basketball, away from basketball for a while, and there was a banquet downtown, and I think Bobby Wilson, former player of the Bulls, invited me down. So I went down and I took a buddy who was working with me. And I said, I know a lot of these guys, and I said, boy, that's Johnny Ray Kerr, but I'm just going to go speak to him. I said, hey, Johnny Ray Kerr, this is Lloyd Walton. How are you doing? He embraced me. Hey, how you doing? Who's your buddy? Shook my buddy's hand. My buddy couldn't believe it. This guy was so nice and kind and generous to the general public, man. He was a special kind of guy, and he was the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, Bulls lost two great legends, NBA did, and also the world. They were two great guys, Lloyd Walton, Mitch Robinson, we remember them, and hopefully now everything settles down and we can move on and get back to just worrying about basketball.
In Norm's honor, number 2.
Rolling Stones.